Number 1. Don't spec ahead for raiding and dungeons. Regardless of whatever your meta or preferred spec for the endgame at level 70 is, you shouldn't try to level with that spec or force yourself to do it early. Just level with whatever is most efficient or fun for you, and then worry about that later. You can always respec and change and get gear when it's time. Number 2. Don't worry about endgame professions. This is similar to number 1 in the same way that just do whatever is most efficient while you're leveling. So skinning and mining are my preference. Just make as much money as possible. Gather as many resources. You could do herbalism too. Just sell the materials, and then by the time you're 70 you'll have enough gold to power level any spec that you want from 1 to 375 if you need to. Number 3. Try to kill mobs 2 levels lower than you up to your level. Don't try to fight things 2 or 3 levels higher. Now I know what people will say. Oh, it's not that hard. You can kill things 3 or 4 or 5 levels higher. And you're right, but it usually takes so long. I actually made a chart that displays the relative ratio of time spent killing versus the level and the amount of experience gained as a result. So it's just not worth it. It's far more efficient to kill something slightly lower or right at your level than above. And you can do quests in turn with that as well. Number 4. Do dungeons for quests. Don't keep farming them over and over. I know a lot of people like to do this, but not only is it boring, but it's also not as efficient as you might think. Questing is always the way to go, so prioritize them only when you have a ton of quests to do. Number 5. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one area. This is the most common mistake I see people make, where they will say, oh, I ran out of quests in this area, or there's nothing left to do, but they don't realize that you're meant to do an area for a couple levels, then come back to it later. So if you do Hellfire Peninsula 60 to 62, then you come back at 63 and a half, get to 64. Believe it or not, the zones are kind of designed like that, and it'll be much easier. There'll be other quests. So you could do Hellfire 61, Zangarmarsh 62, Nagrand somewhere in there, then come back, do a little finish off some quests here, do a dungeon, keep swapping around so you end up experiencing all the zones instead of getting burnt out with just one. Now these last 2 are more of just my personal preference, but number 6, have fun and don't speedrun. So it's not about the end goal. I actually take a little bit of time to get immersed. Don't make the same mistake that so many people did in vanilla, where it was just let's just get to 70 as quickly as possible. Just do all the content and then get bored of it and min-max everything. Try something a little unique. Try different specs, try different experiences, maybe even read the quest tags. Number 7. Don't play on Fairlina or streamer servers. Now this is subjective because I know the appeal is how many people are on those servers, and even I play on those servers, but just if you really want an immersive, more of an RP experience, you shouldn't do that. And last but not least is don't boost or do any of the other microtransactions that are bound to come. After Blizzard sees how many people bought boosts, I'm sure they'll add more things later on, maybe even warglaves for money.